Hello?
Hello, teacher. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thanks for asking.
What's your name? Is it Abel?
It's Abel here in Argentina, but my friends call me Abel.
Abel. Okay, so what would you
Yeah,
prefer?
Abel is okay. It's
Okay.
okay.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Abel.
The same for you.
And are you from Argentina?
Yeah, I live in the province of Salta, that is in the north of the country.
Okay. Very nice. Well, thanks for coming to my class. I'm Maureen.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Maureen.
You too. And let's see, we got another new student here today. That's Carol. Hi, Carol.
Hi, teacher. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
And where are you from, Carol?
I'm from Colombia.
Oh, okay. So we've got two South Americans here today. It's nice to meet you. And let's see, we've got Florina here with us. Hi, Florina.
Hi,
Nice to see you again, or hear
nice
you.
to see you. How are you?
I'm okay. I've been sick this week. I had a
Oh,
cold. Yeah.
that's a pity.
Yeah, I caught a summer cold, but that's okay. I'm feeling better today.
Okay, it's cool.
Yeah. I think
Great.
I get sick whenever we finish the semester with
Mm-hmm.
school, so it's like very busy time, and then as soon as it stops being so busy, that's when I always get sick.
Oh, so it's related to the stress, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm feeling better,
Okay.
so that's good.
That's good, yes.
And we've got Adela here with us. Hi, Adela. How are you today? Adela, are you there?
Fine, fine, thanks.
There you are.
Yes, but I can active the mic, the
Oh,
microphone.
mm-hmm. The microphone.
So yes,
Well, you've got it now. I hope you have the microphone on for this class because we will be doing some sample sentences. So everyone will be participating. And we're going to have sort of a grammar-focused class today, but we'll still get a chance to practice conversation by reading our answers out loud. In all of my classes, I like to do conversation if possible. Okay, and we've got another new student with us. Is this, let's see, Alvaro? Am I saying that
Yes.
correctly?
Yes. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
And
So
where do you
nice.
come from?
I'm my communications from Bogota, but I'm from Pasto in the south of Colombia.
Oh, okay, we have another Colombian here today. Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining my class, and we're going to get started pretty much right away, and if anyone else joins in, then they can just join in on the lesson. So you might want to have a piece of paper and a pen because we'll be doing some exercises. So you might want to have something to write with to write down your answers so that you can remember when we share them with the class.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so today we're talking about the past perfect tense, which is one of those trickier tenses, which is why this is an intermediate class. The first tenses that most students learn are the present tense and the simple past, and maybe the future tense. When you get into intermediate classes, you start learning about what are called compound tenses. So everything that I type is going to be in the chat box. So if you're a new student of mine, you want to click on the blue button in the top left-hand corner of your screen so you can see what I type, okay?
Okay.
Good. Okay, so these are the compound tenses that use auxiliary verbs such as have. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the past perfect tense, which is one of those tenses that indicates that one action was complete at some point in the past before another action happened. Okay? So an example of this is I had walked 2 miles by lunchtime. This activity of walking 2 miles was complete before another thing happened in the past, lunch. Okay, so let's take a look at the document that we're going to start with today. It's a review of how to use the past perfect tense. And I'm going to do a screen share so everyone can see. Let's see. Okay. Let me turn that on.
Excuse me for a while.
Sure. Okay, can everyone see this document that I'm sharing called Past Perfect?
Yes.
Okay, so in the first box you see an image of a woman leaving, and you can see she's leaving this library at 9:30. And then in the second image you see a man is coming into the library at 10 o'clock. Okay, and this, can you see, is it possible for you to see the cursor when I have, can you see this arrow?
Yes, yes.
Cool. Okay, I didn't know if that was possible, but okay, so in this box we see a timeline. And by a timeline I mean it's showing you this activity occurred, and then this activity occurred, and you can imagine this line here represents the present.
Yes.
So this is the present line. These are activities that happened in the past. One happened before another one, so that's when you need to use that past perfect tense. So can I have a volunteer to read the first line of sentence of letter A, please? That indicates that one act.
Can you increase the sound?
Some arrive at 10 o'clock.
Okay, and then the next line, you want to continue, Adela?
And left at 9:30.
Okay, and then can someone else read this sentence, which is an example of the past perfect tense?
In other words, Anne had already left when Sam arrived.
Okay, so let's work on our pronunciation at the same time. Can everyone repeat after me? Arrived.
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 Right. Okay, so this is one of those past tense words that ends with a d sound. It's arrived. Okay. Oh, Adela, I'll increase the zoom for you. Let's see. Is that better?
Okay, thank you.
I think that's as much as I can zoom it in. Can you see?
Yes. I have
Okay.
a short laptop.
Oh, okay. Maybe you could try to zoom in on your laptop as well. That might help.
Okay.
Okay, so like we've already discussed, the past perfect expresses an activity that was complete before another activity or time in the past. Okay, so in grammatical terms, that's when you would use the past perfect. And can anyone think of when you use what you call this tense in your own language? Like all you Spanish speakers in my class, what do you call that tense in Spanish? Does anyone know? Any teachers out there? At some point in the past, before another action happened. Okay, gotta mute.
I think people have the verb been, no?
Yes, I'm not sure. There seems to be a delay, so we'll just keep going and hopefully it'll catch up. And we've got a couple students with us now. We've got Victor. Hi, Victor.
Hello, Maureen.
How are you today?
I'm pretty well, thank you.
Well, thanks for joining. Again, it's good to hear from you. And we've got Ruben. Hi, Ruben. Are you there? Okay, Ruben can join us.
Hi,
All
teacher.
right. Hi, how are you?
Thanks, I'm fine. Thanks.
So, yes, Adela is suggesting that you close the Verbling page and only have open the Google Plus Hangout. That might help with the delay in my voice coming across. Okay, so I closed mine. We'll see if that helps. All right, let's keep moving. We got a lot to cover today, and I want everyone to get a chance to practice. So the thing about the past perfect tense is it uses a lot of these temporal phrases, these time expressions. So maybe you've heard this time expressions phrase before, and that will mean things like before or already or by the time, okay? So we're going to use some of those today, but can someone please read this sentence B? Maybe I could hear from our new student, Carol. Could you read sentence B?
By the time Sam got there and had already left.
Okay, by the time Sam got there, Anne had already left. The activity had already occurred. Okay, in A, first Anne left and then Sam arrived, and the adverb clause with by the time are frequently used with the past perfect in the main clause, such as in B. So when you're describing the second activity to happen, that's when you use these adverb clauses. By the time, okay, or already. We use them if we're trying to put the second action first. So don't get too caught up in that. We won't worry about that just yet, but you'll see in the examples. Okay, let's hear from, let's see, Victor, could you read sentence C?
Sam had left before Anne got there.
Okay, in this case, Sam had left before Anne got there. Now they've switched the roles around. Okay, and you could also say Sam left before Anne got there. Okay, as in sentence D. So if either before or after is used in the sentence, the past perfect is often not necessary because the time relationship is already clear. The simple past may be used, as an example D and F. Okay, so let's have someone else read E and see how they use the past perfect, and then they can read sentence F and see how you can also use the simple past. Let's hear from, let's see, Abel, could you read sentences E and F, please?
Okay, teacher. After the guest had left, I went to the bed. After the guest left, I went to the bed.
Okay, so it's, you know, the time relationship is already clear because we've used before and after. So the simple past might work in that instance. Let's go down to this next example. So when you have actual spoken words, such as something you did, for example, I lost my keys, or I ate my breakfast. When you're referring to something that you did yourself or that someone else did, those are reported words. Reported words such as Jenny said that she had lost her keys. So this is going to be your signal phrase. This phrase said that. That's reported words, almost like a reporter. You're telling someone what someone else said, like you're reporting it. So can I get someone to read the example, letter H? I know I just read it, but I'll have someone else read it too. Let's see, maybe Alvaro, you could read letter H?
Okay, reported words. Jenny said that she had lost her keys.
So Jenny said that she had lost her keys. Now you could say Jenny said that she lost her keys, but it's more common to use the past perfect when you're talking about something that someone else said. The past perfect is commonly used in reported speech. If the actual spoken words use the simple past, the past perfect is often used in reporting those words, as in H. Okay, so those common reporting verbs are going to be tell someone, say, find out, learn, and discover. So these last three, find out, learn, and discover, they all have kind of the same meaning of some information is somehow revealed. And these first two, tell someone and say, have the same idea of communicating information. So how would you report that? So for example, you could say, my brother told me he had discovered the keys. Okay? And then how about in written speech? Now sorry, not written speech, but written words. So can I get a volunteer to read this example? It's kind of long, but maybe Florina, could you read letter I?
Yes. Bill felt great that evening. Earlier in the day, Annie had caught one fish and he had caught 3. They had had a delicious picnic near the lake and then had gone swimming again. It had been a nearly perfect vacation day.
Okay, really good, thank you. So it might sound strange to say they had had a delicious picnic near the lake, but all of these other descriptions are describing events from earlier in the day. So Bill felt great that evening. This is how Bill felt in that moment in the past, that evening, and earlier events in the past had occurred in the day, such as Annie had caught 1 fish and he had caught 3. They had had a delicious picnic near the lake and then had gone swimming again. It had been a nearly perfect vacation day. So when you're writing fiction and you're describing events that happened in the past, it's important to pay attention to the timeline of these events. So the fiction writer uses the simple past to say that an event happened, such as Bill felt great, and then uses the past perfect to explain what had happened before that event. So you can see they even use the past perfect here. Okay? And our last example, maybe we could hear from, let's see, who have we not heard from yet? I think we've heard from everyone, so let's go back to Adela. Can you read the first 2 sentences, please?
I finish. This is. I'd finish. You'd finish. We'd finish. They finished.
Okay. And why don't you keep reading? Read the other 3. Okay, starting with she'd finished.
He'd finish. It's finished.
Okay, and he'd finished. Okay, so this is an example of how we use these contractions. So had is often contracted with personal pronouns in informal writing. So I'll give an example. For example, we'd finished our lesson before we practiced these verbs. Okay, can someone else try to come up with a sample sentence? See, maybe Carol? It's difficult, I know, but just try to use one of these contractions of personal pronouns with had.
She'd finished reading the sentences.
Okay, she'd finished reading the sentences, so that's something that happened in the distant past, and then something more recently occurred. So you could say, she'd finished reading the sentences when I began to speak.
Yeah.
And then her finishing the sentences happened further back in the past, and another event that happened in the past was you beginning to speak.
Okay.
Okay, so let's hear from, let's see, Victor, do you want to give that a try and come up with a sample sentence?
Yes. I finished to speak when class oh, sorry.
That's okay.
No, not right. I try to again.
Okay.
The class ended when I had finished my sentence.
Good. Okay. The class ended when I had finished. I had or I'd finished my sentence. Very good.
Yes.
So in this case, you put the second activity before the other activity, but it was grammatically correct. So it was a really good example. Let's hear from one
Let
other.
me ask.
Yeah.
For example, in this case, I a little bit confused. I can't decide which sentence, which tense I should put when I in the verb after had. Had and finish or finished.
Well, if you say your sentence again, you could say the class ended when I'd finished my sentence. So this would be the perfect use of that past perfect. So it's I had finished.
Yes.
I had.
It means I had done something. Yes. I had complete action.
Yes, you had completed the action, and the other activity had also occurred in the past. So you completed the activity, such as finishing your sentence. You finished the sentence.
Yes.
Then, also in the past, the class ended. So I'd finished my sentence when the class ended. Okay?
Okay, thank you. I get it.
Yeah, so you'll have more practice with this in this class because we're going to move on to some sample sentences. But Adela has an example. Okay, they'd enjoyed the movie when it stopped. That's great. So they'd enjoyed the movie that had already happened, and then it stopped. Already happened in the past as well, but the first activity occurred before. So that's when you use the past perfect. Okay. Let's see. Let's hear from maybe Florina. Could you try to come up with a sample sentence? And I'm going to say that you can use any of the types of constructions from letters A through J.
Okay, let me think. I'd finished to prepare.
Okay, so it's interesting that you say that because if you're going to use another verb, then you actually have to use the gerund form, which is that ing ending. For example, I'd finished preparing.
Before I eat my breakfast.
Okay.
I don't know.
And your breakfast happened in the past. You ate your breakfast, right? In the past.
Okay.
So
I finished to prepare. I'd finished preparing before I ate my breakfast.
Before I ate my breakfast.
Ate my breakfast.
The ate of the past tense of eat and the number 8 are pronounced the exact same way. So if you forget how to pronounce A-T-E, think of the number 8 and 8 and 8.
Okay.
There's a good joke. There's a good joke that you tell children in English. Maybe I'll tell you and see if you can understand. Why was 6 afraid of 7? I'm going to type it. Why was 6 afraid of 7? And the answer to the joke is because 7, 8, 9. Okay, so at least a couple of you understood the joke. So yeah, the joke is that it sounds like 7, 8, 9. But so it's a good joke if you know any little kids who speak English, tell them why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like to teach jokes in English, even though they're hard to understand jokes in a foreign language, but it can be fun to know a joke in a foreign language. Okay, and let's hear from maybe one more example. Ava, why don't you come up with one example using any of these forms of the past perfect?
Okay, just write one. By the time I had went out.
Okay, so it's actually by the time I had gone out. So don't forget that go is went in the simple past, but the past
Yeah.
participle is gone. So I had gone
Okay.
out.
Perfect. By the time I had gone out, it had stopped raining.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Raining.
Okay, it stopped raining. Good. Okay, by the time I had gone out, by the time I had gone out, it stopped raining. That's a great example. Thank you. And let's see, we've got Ahmad with us today. Hi, Ahmad.
Hi, teacher. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We're talking about the past perfect, and we just went over a bunch of examples, so hopefully you saw some of that. And now we're going to move on to the sample sentences, so everyone will get a chance to practice some more. So that's everything for the first page. Let me turn on. I'm going to turn off the screen share and start with the second page. And let's see, where is that? Okay. Okay, and now hopefully everyone can see those exercises. So we have, looking at grammar here, use the simple past or the past perfect form of the verbs in parentheses to complete the sentence. In some cases, either tense is correct. One of the reasons I wanted to have this class on the past perfect is that it's very tricky to know when do you need the past perfect tense and when is it okay to use the simple past. So we're going to try to practice that a bit and get a sense of when you need to use which form, which tense. So the example is Samir, and then you see this verb here, to be, or just be, in the parentheses. And the two forms, they give you the example. The simple past of be is was, and the past perfect is going to be had been. And then you say a newspaper reporter before he, and the verb in the parentheses, become, and then here you have became a businessman. So here you see this keyword before. And if you remember from the earlier page, when they're talking about before, it's clear that the timeline is linear. The timeline is complete. So in that case, you know you can use either one. You could use was, or you can use had been. And who remembers the other word that's just like before? And it gives us that clue. There are two words that go together, before and
After.
Ready?
After, that's right, okay? So when you see before and after, you can know that's a clue that you can use either the simple past or the past perfect, okay? So how would you complete this sentence? Let's see. Alvaro, how would you complete the first sentence?
Samir had been a newspaper reporter before he became a businessman.
Okay, so the newspaper reporter job was before the businessman job, so it makes sense to use the past perfect. Samir had been a newspaper reporter before he became a businessman. And you could also use the simple past because of the word before. Samir was a newspaper reporter before he became a businessman. So that's where these exercises are going to get a little tricky, is knowing which one should you use and which one can you use. So let's do 2 through 5 right now, and I'm going to give you each, I'm going to say about 4 minutes to complete these lines, and you should just write them down. Write down what you think the answers are, and we'll share them as a group.
Okay.
Okay, is everyone ready to share with the class? Anyone need more time? Okay, Adela and Abel are ready. Anyone else?
Yeah.
I ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, then let's get started. So who would like to do number 2? Number 2, who would like to share with us their answer for number 2?
Me?
Go ahead, Florina. Thank you.
Okay. I felt a little bit better after I took the medicine.
Okay, you could say that, but
Yes.
one thing happened in the past. I felt better after, and the other way to say it, after I
Taken.
okay.
Taken.
So Exactly. So we have some people who say after I took the medicine, and some people say after I had taken the medicine. And the key word is after. As I said before, we know that when you see before or after, that either choice is correct. So this is what you want to pay attention to. If you hear before or after, you know you can use either the simple past or the past perfect tense. So I felt a little better after I took the medicine, or I felt a little better after I had taken the medicine. Okay? I'm trying to think about how I would say this, just to give you the perspective of a native speaker. I would probably say, I felt a little better after I took the medicine. And I think that's because even native speakers get lazy about using language correctly, and we tend to not use compound tenses when we don't have to. In this case, we don't have to use a compound tense, so we don't. Okay, thank you, Florina. And how about number 3? Who would like to read number 3 in their answer?
I was late. The teacher had already given a quiz when I got to class.
Okay, very good. So this event, the teacher had already given. There's that tricky part where you have to put the word already given a quiz when I got to class. So that happened in the farther back past, the distant past, had already given when I got to class, which also occurred. Did anyone have anything else? Anything different? No? Okay, good. So here's another clue. When you see that already, you might know, okay, well, I have to include this already somehow. And does it make sense to say the teacher already gave a quiz? Yes, you could say that, but it makes more sense to say the teacher had already given a quiz. Okay? Number 4. Who has the answer to number 4?
Amy?
Go ahead. Go
It
ahead,
was-
Carol.
Okay, it was raining hard, but by the time class had been over, the rain stopped.
Okay, does anyone have anything else? So which happened first? Did the rain stop first, or did the class end first?
By the time, maybe the class it was first.
The class is over, but something had ended before that. The rain stopped, then the class ended. So the rain is farther back in the past, and that means you need to use the past perfect. Okay? You could say that they ended at the same time, but in this case, they're trying to get you to practice that past perfect tense. So it makes more sense to say it was raining hard, but by the time class was over, the rain had stopped. Meaning the rain ended first, then class ended. So the rain is the first action that is completed in the past, and the class is the second action that's completed in the past. Okay?
Okay.
But by the time class was over, the rain had stopped.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Next we'll have number 5. Let's hear from someone else. This one is a little trickier because there's 3 slots to fill.
I can try, teacher.
Sure.
Okay, millions of years ago, dinosaurs roamed the earth, but they became extinct by the time extinct by the time people first appeared.
Okay, so which action occurred first? Did the dinosaurs become extinct first?
Yeah.
Okay, that's true. It's had, but it's not had became. So Abel, be careful of the difference between the simple past form of a verb and the past participle. The past participle is had become.
Become,
So
okay.
in the present, it's to become, or in the infinitive, it's to become. The simple past became. Then it goes back to had become as a past participle.
Okay.
All right? So millions
Yeah.
of years ago, dinosaurs, can you say that after me? Dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs.
Good. Roamed the earth, but they had become extinct by the time people first appeared. Very good. Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next group of sample sentences. So there's our dinosaurs roaming the earth. Does everyone know what it means to roam? Have you heard that word before?
To live in the earth?
Yeah,
Walking.
it's like what animals do. Animals walk around, and that's called roaming. So when you're just walking around in nature as an animal with no plan to get anywhere. So you might have heard that term on your cell phone. If you go out of the country, the cell phone bill will be huge, and they'll say you were roaming. They've taken this term to just mean you were wandering around, like an animal on the in the jungle or on the plains, roaming. Okay, so dinosaurs. That's a very common phrase. You'll hear them in nature documentaries saying, "The lions roam through the plains of Africa," or something. Okay, nice little picture of our dinosaurs, and let's do the next 3, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so I'll give you another 3 or 4 minutes, and just if you want to let me know that you're finished, you can just type in the chat that you're ready to go. Okay, so I think almost everyone is finished. And let's share them while we still have some time together. Who would like to read number 6? Let's hear from Ahmad. I haven't heard from you today.
Okay. I never saw any of Picasso's paintings before I visited the art museum.
Okay, so you could say that, and you might hear someone say that, but it's more common in the case of using never. It's just one of those things where when you say never, most of the time we use the past perfect to say I had never, and then what's the past participle?
Seen.
Very good. I had never seen any of Picasso's paintings before I visited the art museum. Good. Okay, even though you see the word before there, it's not, it's not wrong to say I never saw any of Picasso's paintings before I visited the art museum. It's just more common when you see never to use the construction of a past participle. Okay, such as I had never eaten at that restaurant until last Saturday. It was delicious. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And let's see, who wants to read number 7? Can I get a volunteer? Maybe Carol, could you read number 7?
Yes. After work, I went to Rosa's office to give her a ride home, but I couldn't find her. She had left with someone else.
Okay, so that action occurred in the past. She had left with someone else. Very good. Had left. So not only do we have to memorize those tricky past participles, you have to know when to use the past perfect tense. Good. Thank you very much. And can I get a volunteer just to read the first sentence of number 8?
I got
Okay.
ready to pay the bill, but when I looked in my pocket, I discovered that I had left my wallet at home.
Good. Okay, do you want to keep reading, Adela? Go ahead.
With some embarrassment, I told my friend that I had forgotten my wallet. She kindly offered to pay my part of the bill for me.
What a nice friend. That's great. Thank you, Adela. It's completely correct. When I got ready to pay the bill, but when I looked in my pocket, I discovered that I had left my wallet at home. So there's that word discovered, and that's how you know that's one of those key words that tells you to use the past perfect tense. With some embarrassment, I told my friend that I had forgotten my wallet. She kindly offered to pay my part of the bill for me. So here, this event of telling the friend that I had forgotten my wallet, it occurred in the past before this other event of her offering to pay your part of the bill. Very good. And I'm glad that you caught that as I had forgotten, another tricky past participle. And okay, and while we still have a few more minutes, we're going to do the last page of exercises. So let me open that up. I got to turn the screen share off and turn it right back on again. There we go. And there's a few more exercises to choose from there. Number 9 and number 10. So we'll have to do 9 and 10 in 2 parts, I think, because it's a little too long. Well, maybe we could fit it all in. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'll give you, let's say, 3 or 4 minutes, and then in the last 5 minutes of class, we'll discuss the answers. Okay, is everyone ready to share? Or if you're not ready to share, we'll just we'll try to finish as much as we can in the last few minutes. But let's see, Florina, could you share number 9, please?
Yes. Yesterday at a meeting, I saw Rick Collins, an old friend of mine. I hadn't seen him in years. At first, I didn't recognize him because he had lost a great deal of weight.
Okay, very good. So at first, that was a tricky one there. At first, I didn't recognize him because he had lost a great deal of weight. So this is one of those words that uses to do, or in this case, did, and especially since it's not, did not or didn't recognize him. It's one of those verbs that takes to do as an auxiliary verb. So good catch on that, Florina. Very good. Okay, and let's see, number 10. Are there any questions about number 9, or is it all clear? I had not seen him in years. So that event had happened before the event of seeing him. I saw Rick Collins. Before that, for many years in the past, I had not seen him. Okay, and let's see, maybe we could hear from Abel. Could you start by reading the first 2 sentences of number 10?
Okay, in 1980, my parents emigrated to the United States from China. They had never traveled outside China and were, of course, excited by the challenge of relocating to a foreign country. Eventually, they settled in California.
Okay, good. So my parents immigrated to the United States from China. They had never traveled outside of China. So in this case, before, the event that happened in the past before is that they had never traveled. And again, we see the word never. We know that's an important part of distinguishing, do we use the past perfect tense? And eventually they settled in California. Very good. And let's hear from, let's see, Carol, could you read the next few sentences, please?
Yes. My sister and I were born there and grew up there. Last year, I went to China for the first time to study at Beijing University. I have always wanted to visit China and learn more about my own family background. My dreams finally came true.
Very good. Okay. So my sister and I were born there and grew up there. Last year, I went to China for the first time to study in Beijing University. So that's an event that happened in the past. And an event that happened before that in the past is I had always wanted to visit China and learn more about my family background. My dreams finally came true. Okay, great. And let's see, there's a little bit more to that page. There's just, you can underline the past perfect verbs. Obviously, you wouldn't need to underline them, but maybe we can read over these real quick and look for them. The thief simply walked in. Mrs. Garcia had forgotten to lock the door. So this event happened in the past, and then after that, the thief simply walked in. Her son's school had called to say that he was ill, so she had rushed out the door without thinking to lock it. All of these events, they had called, she had rushed, and had forgotten to lock the door, all occurred before this other event in the past. The thief simply walked in. Okay? And here's an example of that reported speech. Hey, Anna, did you hear? A thief got into Mrs. Garcia's house. Yeah, she forgot to lock the door. The school called and told her that her son was sick, so she rushed out the door without locking it. Okay? I don't see any past perfect verbs there. That's strange.
Did you hear? Past perfect. Past simple.
Yeah, no, that's very odd. Who knows? These textbooks, sometimes. Okay. Sometime in 1995, Mr. Parvaz took a long, hard look at his life. He had had the same job for almost 3 decades. His dear wife had passed away. His children had grown and moved away. So he quit his job, packed everything he owned, and moved to London. That was the beginning of his adventure. Okay, so these events, he quit his job, packed everything he owned, and moved to London. They all happened in the past, but even earlier in the past, these other things had happened. He had the same job, his dear wife had passed away, and his children had grown. Okay? All right, so that's it for today. Thanks for sticking with me. I know that grammar lessons can sometimes be a little bit dry, but it's important to practice, and hopefully you have a better understanding of when to use the past perfect tense. I have another class coming up now on holidays in the U.S., so you might find that slightly more interesting, and we're going to do some more conversation with that. So please join that class if you'd like, and otherwise I hope to see you all in future classes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, teacher.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.